All right. We're going to get started in just a second, everybody. Just going to, work on my fade transition right here. Fade. We're going to fade this, and we're good. All righty. How is everybody doing? This is, of course, your boy Bernie here on The Charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. I hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We got a lot of stuff to discuss. I think the biggest thing that came out today as I was working out was, of course, the fact that Damian Lillard has requested a trade. That's going to be one of the biggest talking points we are going to discuss here on The Charge. Kind of talk about like where we think the best fit would be, what teams could potentially be interested in him, because I know that there is going to be a lot of teams. And, I think for a lot of people, I think they're saying it's about time that Damian Lillard finally requested a trade. I think a lot of people were looking at Damian Lillard as someone who wanted to move. Like, we knew that this time would come because they obviously have such a young core. It kind of makes it interesting, especially for the Grant contract that they just signed him to. I don't know if Dame just said, you know what, I'm out of here. Obviously get your boy Grant paid and then say I'm out. I think it's kind of one of those things too. I think it definitely is going to be interesting to see what they do there. We're also going to talk about the Sacramento Kings. I know my boy Sean, new team. He's found a new home in Sacramento. They signed a EuroLeague MVP, so we'll talk a little bit about him and kind of watch a little highlights about their MVP that they just signed. And we're also going to talk about the draft. I think the draft is something that, of course, Pete and I discussed who we thought would go at least in the lottery. And then we're going to look at the lottery, see who is available, what people are saying about the NBA draft, kind of what people think are winners and losers, and what my opinion are about the players that are in this draft. But before we do that, like I said, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe. And let's move over to the live scene really quick as we kind of proceed to give you what you need here on The Charge. We are going to move towards the NBA draft, but before we do that, like I said, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, all this stuff helps out the channel tremendously because, like I said, we are trying to grow this channel into something special, something good, and really get you guys engaged with us. We want to see you guys discuss. We want to see you guys talk about this stuff because I know how important basketball is to everybody here on The Charge watching. And also, I think it's just important to discuss. Like, if there's a platform or a place where we can kind of discuss freely without people kind of Twitter mobbing it, like the Twitter mobs I've seen on Twitter these last couple of weeks, more so in the comments of like all these, signings and rumors and stuff like that. It just, it becomes a cesspool of people that we try not to associate with because they're just spamming and they're just doing things that really I don't think benefits the discussion about anything other than just whatever team they root for. They're just spamming salary caps and trade scenarios and other things like that, when realistically, let's keep it real. Like, none of us have that ability or talent to do that. Like, I don't want to be a hater, but I just think, unless you have worked in the front office before, I think none of you guys know how this works. But that is not me just calling people out, but that is just kind of a scenario that I just see here. But like I said, let us move into the discussion and let's talk about the NBA draft. The NBA draft was just last week. We had a little bit of some surprises here and there, but for the most part, the draft kind of went the way that I thought it would. Really quick, we can go over the top 3 picks. I think it kind of went in the order that Pete and I discussed. Victor Wembanyama obviously went number 1. I think there was no ifs, ands, or buts about him being number 1. Too talented. I think the skill set is there. I think he's going to be a very special player moving forward. Brandon Miller at number 2, I think surprised a lot of people because, like Pete, Pete said that Scoot was kind of the better player between Brandon Miller and Scoot. We know that Brandon Miller is a great player. We know what he can do, but it depends on what you see his ceiling as, right? Can Brandon Miller be more than just a 3-and-D type of player? Can he elevate it to be all-star? Can he be Mikal Bridges? Can he be better than Mikal Bridges? And then, of course, you got Scoot Henderson, who a lot of people compared to Derrick Rose, and that's why a lot of people were confused as to why Scoot Henderson went number 3 and Brandon Miller went number 2. But for the most part, I think the Hornets went with fit. They have LaMelo Ball. They get Brandon Miller, 6'7", 6'9". I think it's going to be a pairing of just 2 really big athletes, kind of get LaMelo Ball another teammate that can score the rock. And I think it just helps out LaMelo a lot more than I would say getting a Scoot Henderson, just from the fact that, like, I like Scoot Henderson. I think he's a great player. But at the same time, I think for the Hornets, I think it would kind of especially for LaMelo Ball, whose asset is passing and getting people open. I don't think he necessarily fits because I think Scoot likes to do that as well. Even though Scoot is more can score, I think he's like going to get his teammates involved. And so to me, I think it made more sense to go with Brandon Miller. But I know this was a surprise to a lot of people. Number 4 and 5, I think that this one may have surprised some people, but at the same time, I think a lot of people kind of saw this. Amen Thompson was clearly going to go number 4. I think that the talent and the flexibility of Amen Thompson as a point guard, a 6'7" point guard at that, I think it just helps out what the Rockets need. Obviously, they're going to need to get rid of somebody if Amen Thompson is drafted there. I think from what I'm seeing, I think potentially, Kevin Porter Jr. could be going, just because they have so many young guys. They just signed Fred VanVleet, which we'll talk about in our free agency portion of the show. And so to me, I think Amen Thompson, obviously being a young guy with the young core that they have, I think he just made sense. The Pistons at number 5 took Ausar Thompson. Again, this guy, great scorer. I think the upside is there for him. I know that a lot of people were looking at guys like Jarris Walker or Cam Whitmore at that position, but I think according to the sources, and take it or leave it with the sources, a lot of people were concerned about Whitmore's medical history, and so that's why a lot of people were concerned about that. But I think that he's going to prove a lot of people wrong in that sense. Anthony Black at number 6. I think that this was a great pickup. I know a lot of people are concerned about Anthony Black, but when I watch him play, when I saw his Arkansas highlight tape, and also a little bit of a full game, because I always especially for Anthony Black, I meant to make a video on him, and I do apologize that I did not. I kind of saw some things that I liked out there. Gets his teammates involved. I think the concern with him was just the shooting, but I think he can get those concerns out of there. I think he shot the ball pretty well in the combine game. There's a lot of things that Anthony Black possesses. Obviously, the height of a point guard, especially in this NBA, you need it. And to me, when I see Anthony Black and the way that he's playing, to me, I just think it makes sense. And now the Magic have to decide what they're going to do with their guards, right? Because they have Suggs and Cole Anthony, and they need to decide what they're going to do with those two. Are they going to keep them? Are they going to release them? Are they going to trade them? Because they're going to have to do something with those guys. Because at the end of the day, you drafted Anthony Black. Your team is looking pretty long and lanky. And of course, they got Jet Howard as well, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this. We'll go all the way till number 15. Or actually, we'll go to 16 or 17. We'll go to 17. I think it was a great pickup for them. Anthony Black, like I said, one of my sleepers for this draft. I think if the Wizards would have gotten him, I think it would have been a great kind of building block for them. But at the end of the day, Anthony Black was too talented to fall that far. And so Anthony Black is one of my favorites coming out of this draft. Again, watch his tape, both the lowlights and the highlights, and you'll see that for the most part, this kid is really solid, does a lot of great things. And so for me personally, I think that he's someone that could potentially be super good in that Magic offense. They're going to be so long. The Nuggets kind of gave away the recipe of how to win the league, and even the Lakers at the current moment, and we'll talk about the free agency tracker in a little bit. They're kind of doing the same thing as well. They're trying to get long and athletic, because you saw how the Denver Nuggets, even though they have not the most athletic guy in Jokic, the rest of the team was athletic. And when you have so many guys that are athletes, so many guys that are long, they can get into passing lanes, and it just helps out tremendously. What up, Sean? We're going to talk about your boy when we get to the free agency part of it. But yeah, I think for me, that is the reason why I think the Magic are good. They're going to be one of those teams like we talked about last year with this team. Let me move my screen up just a little bit. Man, my hair's so flat today. But yeah, it kind of goes back to one of those things too, for my guys in the chat. I'm excited for this Magic team because, like I said, they are long, they're athletic, and I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. They're going to be another team that could potentially go to the 7th or 8th seed if they play their cards right. And I think that they are just so gifted athletically. They're so gifted lengthwise. I think it's going to disrupt a lot of teams. And with another year under their belt, I think the Magic could potentially do a playoff push. And we'll talk about that way down the line when we get to the regular season. But I'm excited for this Magic team just because, again, they drafted one of the players that I personally like the most in this draft, in Anthony Black. The Pacers and the Wizards did a kind of trade swap. I don't know what I need to look at the trade a little bit later. free Jalen Suggs. Yeah, I think that Jalen Suggs, it could either be a six-man opportunity for him, Sean, or you could potentially see him getting traded to another team. I personally, Sean, if I was Suggs, I would like him in the six-man role. I think that he needs to be a guy that just like scores off the bench, and kind of builds his Jamal Crawford role, because I just think that that's kind of where Suggs is at the current moment. I think, like we said, Suggs probably didn't get a fair shake. Because I think this team is going in a different direction. But you let me know where you would want Suggs. I know you probably want him on the Sacramento Kings, but what team could realistically use him, Sean? Let me know as you type out in the chat. But the Pacers and the Wizards, they kind of switch places. I don't really have the full trade. Maybe I can look at this trade to the Wizards really quick and see what it was. And I guess I'm trying to see here. I think they might have just done like some draft picks. I mean, some extra picks here and there. So it's not really a big trade. But this is one where the Pacers traded to get Jarris Walker, who I think fits the timeline of what they're trying to do. Again, Jarris Walker, a little bit older, but still a great talent. Like defensively, one of the better players out there. It's kind of one of those guys that is going to be defending in the passing lane. Is going to do a lot of great things for you. 6'8", 235. Again, like this guy, if you watch his highlight tape, he's going to do a lot of great things for you. And I think with the way that this team is structured, you clearly see that the Pacers are trying to get a team that's more athletic for a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who, again, I'm a huge fan of. I think that he does a lot of great things. Again, I think this the Kings team would have been a lot different if he was on the roster, but I think in order for that trade to go through for Sabonis, you had to trade Halliburton, which is fine because I think it worked out for both teams at the end of the day. This was another one of those win-win trades. But again, I think the Pacers are looking to kind of build around those guys. They have a lot of... I just think they still need a scoring wing. Maybe they could see if they could get Paul George back, bring him back. That could be potentially a fun little matchup for them, or like bring back somebody who could help them out tremendously. But the Wizards ended up getting Bilal Coulibaly. Again, a guy that kind of rose up the ranks, was teammates with Victor Wembanyama. Kind of a small forward, kind of a wing player. Again, it kind of goes back to what I talked about. Like right now, the Wizards are kind of swinging for the fences right now and trying to hope that they land a home run. Next year's draft should be a lot interesting with the, I can't remember the kid's name. He's going to play on Ignite. I think he's like 6'7", 6'8", with like a 6'11" wingspan or something like that. I think that he's a guy that I think a lot of teams are looking at to be that number one pick. And I think the Wizards are kind of trying to go in that direction. But again, Bilal Coulibaly could be a player that potentially could change a franchise around. Again, you're going on potential with Coulibaly. I mean, this is kind of one of those home run hits that you're trying to go for. Again, a very young player, international. Again, kind of what NBA talks about here is that, maker around the rim, finishes around the rim, 43% of the 38 three-pointer attempts of the season. Most of the attempts were spot-up looks. Again, he's just going to be a spot-up shooter. Again, it's hard for me to say that this kid is going to drastically change the Wizards because, again, the Wizards continue to draft guys that fit that same mold that Coulibaly is. Guys like Rui Hachimura, guys like, I would say even Corey Kispert in that example, Johnny Davis, the kid from Wisconsin. Like, they fit that same mold. And it seems like they're trying to find the next wing player that will help them win games, and then they can fill out the rest of the spots. But I really think that, in my opinion, if Anthony Black was still in the draft at that point, that's who they should have taken. I think there's actually some other players that they could have taken at this spot. I think Cason Wallace. I know a lot of people are going to say that would be a reach at number 8, but I think Carson Wallace's defense and point guard ability, I think, just helps out what the Wizards are trying to do, and really get guys, like I said, like Davis, see if he can play in the NBA or if he needs to stay in the G League, or, guys like Corey Kispert, get that guy going. Because I think, I like Corey Kispert. He's a great player. But with the dysfunction of this Wizards front office and whatever they're doing, you don't have to be a scientist or even a salary cap expert or even a front office expert to know that they are absolutely destroying the careers of any player that goes to Washington. Also, Kyle Kuzma, he just re-signed, and like I said, we'll talk about the free agency market a little bit later. But you already have a guy in Kyle Kuzma who plays that position. Like, yes, he can play the 4, but for the most part, like Koulibaly plays like the 3 and the 4. Like, it's the same position, just a little bit younger. I just think for me, like, if you're gonna go Koulibaly, why sign Kuzma back? Just because I think that you probably want Koulibaly to get the minutes and the touches that he needs. Like, yes, you can play both those guys. You can play one at the 3 and one at the 4, but to me, like, they continue to draft and do things that are just contradictory to what they are trying to eventually do, which is rebuild and retool. Because again, they've been out of the playoffs for so long. No one I feel like wants to go to a Wizards game. It kind of feels like the Wizards are dead for the last 5 to 6 years. And they're hoping that Koulibaly can be a guy that hits it off the ground. And then we got Taylor Hendricks going to the Jazz. I think that this was a good pickup. Again, like, I just think that he's another guy like Grant from the Blazers. Like, he has that type of talent, you know, kind of a taller, can score the rock. Like, again, like, I think Taylor Hendricks is another guy that offensively does a lot of great things. 6'10", 215. I mean, he can score, he can shoot 39% on 3-pointers. You know, he's shooting at least 4 or 5 a game. I mean, this kid will be really good. You know, I think it's a good fit for him. You know, another guy that again, can shoot the rock, and that's something that I believe the Jazz kind of need for their roster. I know that they're kind of going with the young team that they've got. But you gotta like what they're going with Larry Markkinen, with him on the court. It's gonna be a very tall, and again, teams are trying to get long, they're trying to get athletic so they can compete with these other like great teams that are coming up in these conferences. And so for me, like, he's going to do so many great things for this franchise, and it was a good pickup. Like, I know that I can't remember where I had him, but I like him from you. You know, I probably didn't watch as much as I would like to, but he's another guy that to me can really do a lot of great things for any franchise. So look out for Taylor Hendricks to do some great things there in Salt Lake City. Let's see here. Basically, the Mavericks and the Thunder switch picks here. The Mavericks drafted Cason Wallace, but they're actually going to go Derek Lively. This is a great fit. Obviously, a guy that can get rebounds, can do a lot of great things, can roll to the basket. Probably something that Luka Doncic needs is another kind of big that can go get his down low. Again, I think Derek Lively is going to be a great player for them. I think that he was kind of what they needed because their bigs weren't necessarily the best at the time. And again, it kind of goes down to now that they've got Kyrie Irving, I think it helps him as well. A guy that can just go down there and get his own buckets and, you know, kind of finish easily around the rim is kind of what they need. So I like the pickup of him. We'll go to 11, Jet Howard to the Magic. I love this pick. I know that this pick got like C+ on a lot of people's draft boards, and know people were saying, you know, he's just a, you know, he's the son of a former NBA player. But if you guys actually watch him, he's a great 3-and-D player. Like, he's another guy that could potentially change the look of the Magic. Again, another long, athletic guy. And they're trying to go for the playoffs this year. I think with this pickup and, of course, getting Anthony Black, you can't tell me that this team is not ready for the playoffs. I think that it was a great pickup. I know a lot of people are going to hate on it, but the fit and the role that he's going to play on this team is exactly what the Magic need. Now, I personally would want them to get a veteran leadership just so they make sure that the locker room is nice and, you know, together. I think you really need those veterans in there to help out this team. And so to me, if I'm the Magic, I'm looking to get some veteran leadership in there. But Jet Howard's a great player, man. You can't hate on the kid. He's going to do a lot of great things for this franchise. So to me, like, you have to, I would say that this pick is a B+. Like, yes, he's not the flashy superstar that a lot of these other guys are trying to hit home runs with, but he does a lot of great things on the court. I personally like the pick of Jet Howard there at number 11. 3-and-D, can do a lot of great things on the offense and defensive end. Can't hate on it. Cason Wallace to the Thunder. I think that this is absolutely tremendous pickup. I think it helps out guys like Giddey, guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You know, you got Cason Wallace coming off the bench, kind of being a defensive presence, and also offensively can get his own buckets. So to me, I think that this was a great pickup for what they needed. I'm a big Cason Wallace guy. I think when I watched him play in the ACC, did a lot of great things, disrupted a lot of teams. Like, you know, Virginia had some troubles with him. I like Cason Wallace. I know that a lot of people are, you know, they're kind of wondering, like, why do you get a guy that comes off the bench? But, you know, I just think that he does a lot. He will definitely do some great things for this team. You know, as a guy that is trying to think of the right word. He's durable, meaning that he's not going to get hurt a lot. He played, I think from what they said, he played 31 of the 32 games, averaging 11 points, 45% from the floor, 35 from three, and 76% from the free throw line. 4.3 assists, 3.7 rebounds, 2 steals in 32 minutes. I mean, again, does a lot of great things. So I think that, to me, I do agree with the projection of a Jrue Holiday type of player, like a kind of bigger guard that can bully and pester the best player, especially in that second unit. Like, he's going to do a lot of good things. So Casey Wallace, great pickup there. The Raptors drafting Grady Dick. I'm a huge Dick fan. I think that he is a good player. I think he dropped a little bit just because I think fit wasn't there. I personally don't see what the Raptors are doing here. I love Grady Dick. I think he's going to be a great player in this league, but I feel like the Raptors kind of need to go with either like a Keontae George or a Buffkin, just a Buffkin, a Beefkin. I just think that that's kind of what they needed to go with. Just, because I think Grady Dick is going to be a guy that will definitely be on the court a lot of the time. But my concern with Grady Dick at some times is, what are the Raptors doing for their future? Because I just think that right now they're kind of in this no man's land, and they're trying to decide whether they want to tank, whether they want to be good. And I just think that that's kind of where I believe that this team is at. And because that they're there, I don't necessarily see what I would say is a great role for Grady Dick. Again, I would love to see him kind of go to the Pelicans. I think would be a good fit. The Hawks, even a better fit. Jazz could be a great fit too. But we'll see what happens with Grady Dick there in Raptors land. I think Toronto is starting to become a destination where a lot of people are not staying for a lot of the time. So that's kind of where I see Grady Dick kind of in that like no man's land, just because I think the Raptors are in this weird position where they're trying to rebuild, but also trying to keep the same core. I'm just not sure. Jordan Hawkins, great pickup for the Pelicans. I think that he's going to do a lot of good things. Did really well in the tournament. Obviously, they won the whole thing. Jordan Hawkins definitely going to be scoring a lot, and the Pelicans do need it because with Zion Williamson being inconsistent, they're going to need scoring from a lot of different places. Beefkin, I think, was a good pickup there for the Hawks. I definitely did not watch as much Beefkin as I need to, but I think the Hawks got a good pickup there. The Jazz, Keontae George, I think Sean's one of Sean's biggest sleepers. I think a lot of people actually had this guy as a sleeper, and so I think that this was a good pickup for them. Jalen Hood-Schifino, a guy that really a lot of people had at kind of like that 12 to 13 range, ended up going at 17 to the Lakers. I think the Lakers, and we'll talk about their free agency because I think they picked up some really good pieces. This is me, a Boston Celtics fan who does not like the Lakers. They got a lot better. Jalen Hood-Schifino does a lot of great things on the court, scores, does things that you need him to. And again, it's kind of one of those guys that, again, does a lot of good things. I think the 3-point shooting is where he needs to step up just a little bit. I think that will happen, especially with playing with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. He'll get a lot more opportunity. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that probably needs to kind of incubate, if you will, kind of like Max Christie did this last season. And you could see the growth and progression of a guy like Max Christie. I think Hood-Schifino is one of those guys that probably needs a year to be under Phil Handy. Like, again, like I said a lot of different times. Oh, okay. We got some breaking news, and we're gonna save this one. The only breaking news is that D'Angelo Russell signed with the LA Lakers, a 2-year deal. We'll talk about that. We'll actually talk about that, Sean, in the free agency part. I'm just gonna finish up with one more player after this guy, and then we can move on. Again, this guy probably needs to be in the incubator. Let Phil Handy get this guy doing a lot of great things. Because, again, we saw guys like Austin Reeves. We saw guys like Rui Hachimura. We saw guys like Alex Caruso. Those guys under Phil Handy elevated their game. They elevated their game tremendously. And this is one of those things where I think a guy like Schifino needs to go under his wing. And I think every single basketball player that is serious about their game needs to go to Phil Handy. Because Phil Handy, I would love to go there for a week or two and like go and study under Phil Handy, because I think that he does a lot of great player development, and you can see like the players that he has developed, they've gotten big contracts and they've gotten great looks, they've gotten better. And Max Christie is another guy that's in that camp. I think that he could have a potentially great season coming this year. Again, another guy that's long and athletic. Again, the Lakers are looking good, man. And like I said, and even Sean said it in the chat, we're going to talk about the Lakers and how good their offseason has been so far. I know a lot of people are going to laugh at some of the moves that they made, but I don't think these people understand like how good of the moves that they've made. So again, Hood Schifino, great player. I think that, put him in the incubator with Phil Handy, and I think that he'll be a lot better coming forward. So again, I'm looking forward to that. And then I think the Heat got a great kind of Heat culture type player. And that's, of course, Jaime Jaquez. I know a lot of people are stunned that a guy like Jaime Jaquez got drafted over, I would say, guys like Amari Bailey, who a lot of people saw rising up the draft board. But, Jaime Jaquez, senior player, like older, I think he just fits that Heat culture a lot. Does a lot of great things. Scores 17, 8.2 rebounds, 2.1 assists. Like he does things that you love as a coach. Like he's going to be a guy that's kind of the glue. Not saying that he is a Draymond Green type of glue guy, but he's a guy that is going to do a lot of great things. I'm excited for him. Jaime Jaquez, again, for all the years, he had some great, and Sean can even attest to Jaime Jaquez in the kind of rivalry that these two teams had. Like these two teams played their butts off, and I think for me, like, a second team All-American, Pac-12 Man of the Year, freshman all honors, defensive team twice. Like to me, like I like his game. It's very smooth. Definitely one of those guys that is getting buckets in high school, and he'll get buckets in the NBA. He's just that good. So to me, I like him. And that was a great pickup for the Miami Heat. Just because I think he does a lot of good things out there. So I like this pickup, and that's going to kind of be it. I'll kind of go over through some of the other kind of pickups that a lot of these other teams had. The Warriors got Brandon Podomsky, Cat Whitmore going to the Rockets, Noah Clowney going to the Nets, Dariq Whitehead going to the Nets, Blazers getting Chris Murray. I think that's another good pickup. Oliver Maxine Prosper going to the Mavericks. Marcus Azur going to the Pistons. You got Ben Shepherd going to the Pacers. Hornets getting Nick Smith Jr. Jazz getting Bryce Sensabaugh. Julian Strawther going to the Nuggets. I think that's another good pickup for them. Julian Strawther, I know that Gonzaga guys kind of got frustrated with him a little bit, but I think he's a good player, man. I think that he can do a lot of good things there. And then Kobe Brown going to the Clippers. Excuse me, but let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about all this stuff? Again, we're going to go to the free agency portion of our video now, but I just want to let you guys know about the other draft picks. And again, this is another year where I think there's some good players out there that can do a lot of great things for teams. Again, there's no, other than maybe like the top 5, maybe 6 players, I think those are guys that are like for sure like superstar type players, but there's a lot of like good role player type of players that could potentially play themselves into these little max contracts that guys like Desmond Bane got. Trying to think of other guys like Fred VanVleet got. Like those are some good contracts there that I think these players eventually can earn that money for their team with the roles that they play for their team. So again, I'm excited for the roles that all these guys have kind of got themselves into. And again, there might have been some misses here and there in the later part of the draft, and those are kind of the ones where you have to take a swing at. But I think as far as kind of like the first, I would say 20 to 22, I think that those were great pickups. So again, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of all these NBA draft selections? All right, let us move on to the next part of this portion. And Sean, I'm going to read some of your comments. Free Jalen Suggs, which I already read. Lakers have made some good offseason moves too so far. Yes, we're going to talk about that. D'Lo just extended 2 years, $37 million. I think that they kind of had to do that, just to protect the asset. We'll see if they kind of make a move on that. But let's move over to the free agency tracker. And let us also go to broken Twitter. I know Twitter is not working as much, but we'll see if anything happens here. We'll refresh, and maybe I've exceeded my limit. obviously we're going to talk more about the Damian Lillard situation with him potentially going to Miami. I know that he's been in communication with them. That's kind of been where a lot of people expect Damian Lillard to go. After this morning, he requested a trade. We got OG Anunoby wanting a bigger role and more ball handling opportunities. Kind of sounding like high school all over again for some of these guys. Breaking down, obviously we talk about the signings there. Derrick Rose going to Memphis. Josh Richardson going to back to Miami. We also got Fred VanVleet going to be making $43.3 million. I mean, that's just crazy for Fred VanVleet. Again, good player, but man, that's a lot of money. Cam Reddish going to the Lakers. I love that move for them. Dennis Schroeder, I believe, going to the I can't remember which team he's going to, but I know he got like a 2-year, $26 million deal. Max Strus in a sign and trade. Kyrie Irving staying in Dallas. The Celtics getting Danilo Banton. Jeremy Grant getting a 5-year, $160 to stay in Portland. Bruce Brown getting a big contract, which is salute to him after a great NBA postseason that he had. I even think that the Suns got some good role players that they got. I love Juan Atube. I think that was a good pickup for them. Draymond Green staying in whatchamacallit. Draymond Green staying in for the Warriors, I think was a great pickup for them. I think that he does a lot of good things, and we'll see what this team does in the future. I'm curious to see. We'll see what happens there. Derek White's new look. He's going bald after being made fun of by Shaq. Jock Landale going to be unrestricted free agent. Trying to see here. Doc Rivers a potential candidate to, we'll talk about the ESPN stuff. James Harden opting into his contract. Could Joel Embiid demand a trade? I mean, this is going to be a lot of stuff, and I think Joe Ingles is going to the Magic, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Let's kind of go back to the free agency tracker, though, and let's refresh it, because I think hopefully it should have the new... I wish it had kind of like the latest updates, but we can kind of go from here. So, let us talk about the free agency kind of news that we've been seeing here. Obviously, like we said, breaking news. D'Angelo Russell's just signed a new 2-year contract, $37 million with the LA Lakers, a 2-year. I'm not sure if there's a player option involved, but he is going to stay there. But let's go from the top here. We got Jeremy Grant kind of getting the biggest contract out of everybody. Kind of a 5-year, 160. I mean, that's a great addition for the Blazers. They could do a lot of things with it. They decide to trade him and go younger. Because to me, like, Jeremy Grant just does not fit the timeline now that Damian Lillard wants out of there. Does he move? Who knows? Fred VanVleet going from Toronto to the Houston Rockets from a 3-year, 128, earning 42, close to 43 million per year. Again, there's a lot of taxes that come out of that, so I don't know how much he's going to earn after taxes, but that's still a nice paycheck for Fred VanVleet. I think he does add a lot of veteran leadership to what the Houston Rockets need. They're a young team that's looking to improve every year, and I think that he'll definitely help out this roster that's trying to get better each and every year. I think that he does, like I said, he does a lot of good things, but I'm curious to see like how that role of being the leader and under Ime Udoka kind of helps him out there. Kyrie Irving staying 126, 42 million a year. I think Kyrie Irving staying there was probably the realistic option, because I think that obviously they can offer more money. And I think 3 years just kind of allows Kyrie Irving to, if he wants to decide to make one more move, he's got that. Cameron Johnson getting a huge payday from the Brooklyn Nets. I think that's another good pickup. I think Cam Johnson's a good player. Is he worth 27 mil? I don't know, but hey, he got a big contract. I think that's kind of a big pickup for them. Kyle Kuzma staying in Washington, 25.5 million a year. Not a bad pickup. I think that he does a lot of good things as well. Again, does he fit the timeline for the Wizards? I don't think so, but it's probably the only place that was willing to get him the 25.5. Again, I realistically saw him at like a 20 mil if a team wanted to make a move on him. But, I think Kyle Kuzma does a lot of great things. I'm just curious to see if he stays all his 4 years in Washington. Chris Middleton signs a new deal, 34 mil a year, 103 year, 102. Good pickup for them. The question for me is going to be, can he stay healthy? Because if he's not healthy, I don't think he provides a lot of stuff for the Milwaukee Bucks. You know, they obviously missed him last year with him out the playoffs. Like, it just hurt this team when they were trying to make a big push. So, you know, that's going to be one to monitor and look at. Draymond Green signing back to the Golden State Warriors. I like the pickup. I know a lot of people do not like him. But he is ultimate glue guy, does a lot of things really well. You can't tell me that this guy's not gonna help out this team, because I think, like, you know, with Curry and Thompson older, I think that they clearly need to start looking at the future. I'm curious to see how he's going to mentor the young guys. I know that him and Jordan Poole did not get along together, but there's a reason why Jordan Poole got shipped off to Washington. Let's see here. Jakob Poeltl continues to get paid. Big fella keeps getting paid. 4 years, $80 million. Solid pickup. Again, I just don't know what the Toronto Raptors are doing in terms of what they're building for. Like, I love the Raptors. Don't get me wrong. I love Jakob Poeltl. He's a great player. Like, I like him. But to me, like, the biggest thing that I'm curious to know about for the Raptors is, what are they doing to get better? Because they obviously have Siakam, they obviously have OG, but those guys are probably going to want more stuff. And I could potentially see OG asking for a trade. You know, he's already asking for a bigger role, and I just don't know if the Raptors can give him the role that he wants. And so that's kind of where I am looking at in terms of, like, what the move's going to be for them. Max Strus, 4 years, 63 mil. Hey, man, had a great postseason. He deserves the bag there. Going to Cleveland, I think, does a lot of good things for him. You know, obviously provides the shooting. You know, it's curious to me, like, that Darius Garland is on the trade block for this team. I like Darius Garland. I hope that they don't trade him. I think he does a lot of good things for this roster, and so I think I'd be mad if he was going to be moving on. Like, I think he needs to stay with that team. So I don't know why the Cavaliers are trying to trade him. Herb Jones, 4 years, 53. I think that's another good pickup for them. Again, a small forward that's kind of under the Brandon Ingram mold. You know, this team has to decide kind of soon what they're going to do with their team and their players. I like it, man. I think it's a good pickup for them. I think he does a lot of good things, and, you know, they need the scoring since Zion Williamson is going to be busy doing whatever he's doing, you know, with all that stuff. Rui Hachimura, great. I think the Lakers have won free agency so far, because not only did they sign Rui Hachimura, they brought back D'Angelo Russell. They got Gabe Vincent, who was a great shooter for the team. Let me see what else they have. They also got Jackson Hayes, who they just signed. They also got Taurean Prince, another long athletic guy. They also got Cam Reddish. I mean, the Lakers made some great moves this offseason. And I just think that they got younger, they got more athletic. And when you get younger and more athletic, you can't tell me that they don't scream as a team that could potentially, you know, get back to where they were, could potentially get back to the Western Conference Finals. Like, this team, they definitely have gotten bigger in a lot of places that they need to get bigger. They got more athletic, they got younger. I think that under Phil Handy, I think Phil Handy's gonna, you know, it's gonna be a lot of days in the time chamber from Dragon Ball Z with Phil Handy with some of these guys, but especially guys like Cam Reddish. I think that Cam Reddish can turn. I still believe in Cam Reddish. I know a lot of people have kind of made fun of him, but to me, like, looking back at that draft and thinking about him as a player, I know I loved him when the Hawks took him. Like, I was a huge believer in him. I still am a believer in him. He just needs some more TLC, a little tender love and care, to get him going. I think that he could potentially do a lot of great things for that franchise. I think Cam Reddish can be a 12-point per game scorer. Like, I think that he has that innate ability. Like I said, to me, that's kind of like where I would like to see the Lakers succeed in that area, is just getting that guy going. Because, like I said, I think he's a good player. So, to me personally, I enjoy Cam Reddish going there. I know that Jackson Hayes, again, they got a lot of those guys from that 2019 draft who were like top 5, top 10 picks going there. You know, it kind of, you know, I feel like Jackson Hayes could have an Aaron Gordon type of moment. You know how Aaron Gordon was like a top 4 pick in the draft a couple years back. I think that Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish can be in the same boat, especially for a player that I felt like never really got used the right way throughout his whole career. Like obviously had a great year at Duke, but then just got misused in a lot of the places that he went to. Under the Hawks, like never really got a chance. Then went to the I believe he went to the Knicks afterwards, and obviously was a teammate with RJ Barrett. Never really got going. I don't know why Tom Thibodeau didn't like him. Then went to the Trailblazers, had some success there for a little bit, but then never really got an opportunity to kind of get to where he needs to be. So again, I see Cam Reddish as a 12-point per game scorer. I think he could do a lot more, but I think that next year he'll definitely contribute a lot. And Taurean Prince obviously being a defensive presence that they need. I like that pickup. And, Jackson Hayes, again, another center who's young. They've kind of needed some of that because I think for the most part, I think they just have Anthony Davis and that's really it. So adding Jackson Hayes definitely helps this roster out in the inside. It kind of can slide AD to the 4 position, which is where he likes to be anyway. So yeah, I think that's a good pickup for them. So, Lakers, again, stay winning. They did a lot of good things. So, yeah, I think that's a good pickup for them. Derrick Rose going to the Memphis Grizzlies. I think that's a good kind of veteran leadership that John Morant needs. I know they got Marcus Smart, but Derrick Rose has been through it. Kind of similar superstardom, I would say. So I think that definitely helps him out. Joe Ingles to the Magic, I think is a good pickup for them. I think it allows them to have like a veteran leadership and shooting that they're looking for. Obviously they drafted Jet Howard, but I think Joe Ingles can be in that position for a little bit, especially during the postseason. Let Jet Howard have the regular season. Bruce Brown getting a payday, which I appreciate because obviously he worked his butt off in the NBA playoffs, and he definitely deserved that pay increase. 2 years, 45, 22 a year, definitely deserved that money. And then I think that's really it. I mean, there's other like kind of smaller details. There's a lot of other free agents that are available. Russell Westbrook's available. Eric Gordon's available. Malik Beasley, Will Barton, Brooke Lopez, another center that could potentially be a huge benefactor to whatever team he goes to. Dante DiVincenzo, another guy that could potentially be on the move. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good guys out here on the bench, and or sorry, I should say in free agency that a lot of people can pick up. But Sumo, rotation guy, I think he's a restricted early bird. Scottie Pippen, unrestricted. Buddy Boeheim. And then again, a lot of fringe guys that could potentially either make or break in the league. But yeah, I think that free agency is going to heat up even more. I think James Harden getting traded is going to be another big one. I would honestly say that James Harden is one of the biggest losers, and even Daryl Morey, one of the biggest losers in this free agency so far, just because, Daryl Morey was brought in to make the 76ers better, but he hasn't really made them better. And James Harden, I'm getting tired of the James Harden stuff, just because I think for me, like when I look at James Harden, it's I would say personally for me, guys, like James Harden is a frustrating player because I think he can be a little selfish at times, and I just think that he doesn't bring winning culture to what they need out there. And so I think that this is kind of a I would say disappointing free agency for the 76ers, and of course James Harden, because he should be on the team right now, but he's a disappointing player. But that's kind of my opinion on James Harden. Maybe it sounds like hate, but he obviously doesn't really bring that winning culture. Another team that potentially could be for the Lillard trade, I would look at the Boston Celtics. I think that they could make that move. Kind of bring him, trade Jaylen Brown and bring him. That's a move that I potentially will be looking for. I think that that's kind of one of those things where, they've tried so far with Jaylen Brown, but he's obviously a guy that cannot dribble with his left hand, and if you get him in that kind of position where it was with the Heat and also with the Golden State Warriors, they continue to get in those situations where they just get in trouble spots, like both him and Jason Tatum. They get into trouble spots and they just dribble into loaded loaded paint, and they get stolen all the time. So unless they can change that, that's really all I can really potentially see as like a difference maker so far. Kings having a free agency so far. Yep, they brought back Trey Lyles. I think the Sacramento Kings, we can look at theirs really quick. They brought in, I believe, is this the guy that they brought in? I think this is the guy that they brought in. They have a lot of other guys on the free agency market. But yeah, let's look at this guy. I think that that's one player that we should look at. Let's see here. What's his name? See if we can search for him really quick. I mean, this is. I think the Kings actually did a really good job here. I mean, the Kings brought in EuroLeague MVP in Sasha Vesnikov. Again, you can kind of see that he is a really good player. Again, number 14. Can shoot the ball really well. I think that he kind of fits what the Kings kind of need is some more scoring off the bench. He frustrates a lot of players out there, frustrates a lot of coaches. 20 point per game score according to Basket News. I mean, to me, like he's definitely one of those guys to look at. And again, we can look and see he finishes well around the rim. Lefty, like he does a lot of things that you like from a big guy. Again, he kind of plays that, to me, he feels like more of a 4, like a 3-4 type of guy. So, I think that the Kings did a really good job. Again, I really like him. I think that he's going to be a guy that helps out the Kings tremendously. To me, again, the biggest thing for the Kings is can Sabonis develop the skills that he needs, in my opinion, to get him some easy buckets. To me, he doesn't really have like another, I would say, trying to think of the right word. He doesn't have any counter moves to his move, right? He has that left hand hook, but there's no other like, let me go up, go around, use my pivots, and go finish at the rim. I just feel like he needs to work on that. And if he can go into like Hakeem Olajuwon camp, or I can't even think of a current player that has that type of footwork as a big, like he needs to go to that camp and get that footwork down, because I think that that's kind of what limited him and really kind of what hurt the Kings in the playoffs last season, was other than him getting stomped on by Draymond Green. I think just not having any counter moves to counteract a guy like Draymond Green, or even a guy like Kevon Looney, like being able to have those different counter moves, I think would help the Kings out tremendously. And so to me, I hope that that's what kind of Sabonis is working on, is different footwork and different finishes around the rim, because I think that that's what will help Sabonis in the NBA, is having those different counters. Because again, he can get the left hand hook against against this, maybe not the San Antonio Spurs now, but the Houston Rockets right now. Like he can definitely get those. He can definitely get that left hand hook. Kind of that little bump in hook. But I would like to see him develop some other moves. And I don't know if Sean will agree with me or disagree with me there. But that's kind of what I want to see from Sabonis, or those type of moves. And I think the Kings are going to do really well. Murray is another year older. I think it'll definitely help him, and the confidence that he got from the playoff experience, it will help him. De'Aaron Fox obviously showed some great things out there. Hopefully the finger will heal well. And so I'm curious to see how he'll do in the playoffs, or really kind of how he does in the off season. What things is he working on in his game? But again, I'm excited for this offseason. I think there's a lot of moves still to be made. I'm curious to see what other teams are going to do, and really, I think what these other teams need to do is, clearly they need to catch up with the Lakers so far in the offseason. Let's see here. Sean says he does need to develop more moves, but he also needs to figure out what is going on with his thumb. He needs it to heal. He needs to heal it. Yeah, I mean that's another thing too. A lot of injuries to the body, making sure that you get adequate rest. Yeah, I think that the Kings are again. They're going to be a fun team to watch next season. I think that adding the EuroLeague MVP definitely is going to help this team out, and really kind of take the ease off of guys like Sabonis, off of Fox from scoring all the buckets all the time. The Kings are starting to get back to what made them very popular back in the early 2000s. If you guys remember those teams with Jason Williams and Divock and Chris Webber and Peja Stojakovic, like those, like it's kind of reminding me of that. This to me, maybe Sasha Vesnikov is the Peja Stojakovic that they're looking for. Because you already have Sabonis, who's the Divock. You already have, kind of Jason Williams and Bibby and De'Aaron Fox. Now you're going to have to look for the Chris Webber, who potentially could be Keegan Murray. I think that's definitely something that is potentially possible. So, again, I'm excited for the NBA offseason moving forward. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I know that we're not going the full hour today. Maybe we'll kind of look at some real GM news before we head out of here. But let me know what you guys think of the NBA offseason so far. Who do you think is winning it so far? Let me know in the comment section down below. All right. Let us see here. I'm going to clean my nose really quick. So give me 1 second. All right. There we go. Okay, perfect. Let's go real GM really quick and then we can kind of get out of here. I really don't think that there's really going to be that much news. I mean, there might be some. Let's see here. So we got Cavaliers acquiring Strus. Yep. Blazers plan to accommodate Damian Lillard's trade request as they should. Thomas Bryant going to the Miami Heat. Clippers in touch with Russell Westbrook. We talked about this one already. Sixers have no interest in trading Tyrese Maxey. Jaylen Brown and the Celtics still agreed to extension. I think that's the big one that a lot of people are looking at, especially in Boston. Is what's going to be happening there? Obviously making the All NBA team for the first time in his career. They obviously have to pay him a lot more money now that he's kind of made that team. The question is he worth that much? I love Jaylen Brown. I think he's a great player. I think he does a lot of great things for the community. My question for me would be like, every year I need to see an improvement. And the one thing that I want Jaylen Brown to improve on, if he's going to come back to the Celtics, is, I think for me personally is like, and both Jason Tatum needs to recognize this too, is like when the paint is closed off because they realize how good of a driver both him and Tatum are. Like they need to learn, like, hey, we need to move the ball a little bit, and then you can rip and go. Because I feel like a lot of times they catch it on the wing, and then they're trying to go right away. And the problem with that is the Miami Heat showed you in that series that they loaded up the paint because they know how much we love to drive. And so when that happened, especially if Jaylen Brown's trying to go back to his left because he's trying to go right, trying to do it behind the back or between the legs, like there's a guy already there ready to like swipe the ball. And for the most part, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum turned over the ball that way. And, again, I believe that the Warriors showed that the season we made it to the NBA Finals, like they showed to me, like how to beat the Celtics, how to beat us, because they said, hey, let's load up the paint. Yeah, they can shoot all the threes that they want because we know that they're not consistent. Like, let's see if we can get that. But, I want to see a little bit more consistency from our guys. I love Brown. But they're going to need to show that they can go to their left and not get the ball stolen. And so that's going to be one thing that I want to see from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because they both do the same thing. So I don't want to necessarily point it to just Jaylen Brown. Let's go to Hoops Hype and see if there's anything else. I don't really think there's anything else. The Clippers obviously looking to keep Russell Westbrook. I think the Clippers are kind of looking to maybe get James Harden. I know that that's kind of been rumored. Man, I don't know. The Clippers are in a weird position right now. I felt like they kind of had if they would have maybe gotten him a year ago, that would have been fine. But I don't know. I feel like are you going to be able to rely on Kawhi Leonard to be healthy? That's the biggest question mark for me. Moving forward with this team is like, can they stay healthy? And I don't know if they can. Spurs list him as a forward. Victor Wembanyama. Got a lot of some of these Euro guys going to a lot of these European players are getting signed up right now. Dennis Smith Jr. going to the Nets. Good pickup for them. Max Strus in Cleveland. OG wants a new bigger role. Obviously, Austin Reeves still needs to sign his contract. I think he'll end up being a Laker at the end of the day. Unless the Spurs can offer something big, I just don't think that he's going to really leave that city. Victor Oladipo traded to OKC. Good reunion there. Rockets aggressively pursuing Brook Lopez and Dylan Brooks. I think Dylan Brooks is another player that a lot of people are looking at. Spurs to be involved with Max Strus in a sign and trade with Cedi Osman. I think Cedi, I wish Cedi was just, I wish he would have gotten a better opportunity. I feel like he needs to get a better opportunity. I feel like he has the skill to be a good player. I just don't think he's been given the opportunity to. I don't know what's going on in Cleveland. I just felt like he's kind of been there since LeBron's been there. I want Cedi to get a bigger role because I think that he does have some skill, but I don't know if he gets the minutes or the confidence boost from a coach to say, yes, we believe in your ability. Because I think Cedi can be a good player, man. Like I'm still a believer in Cedi. Watanabe going to the Suns, a good pickup for them. Like I said, another kind of big that can shoot. Trey Jones returning to the Spurs. I think that's a good pickup for them, or good kept player for them. Let's see if there's anything else. There's not really much. I think that maybe we'll have to call it there. Just because again, there's not really too much other kind of news and rumors. Excuse me. Not a lot of news and rumors. I think the Lakers, they're trying to get Austin Reeves back. We'll see what happens there. Let's see if there's anything ESPN wise, if there's any news. NBA. Spurs officially signed number 1 pick. We knew that was going to happen. Pacers, Halliburton again, great pickup for them. I think that they've kind of solidified their team. I think the Pacers could obviously be really good too. So I'm excited for them to move forward. Victor Wembanyama, clearly. Well, they're going to list him as forward, so I'm curious to see how that goes for them. But he finally signed his contract. Let's watch the video really quick. Officially pen to paper. They're going to slow-mo him signing his name in the contract. But he is officially a Spurs player, and so that's exciting to see him there. Definitely improved his numbers a lot. Went from averaging like less than 10 points a game to averaging 21, 10, and 3. Defensive player, MVP, best young player honors. I mean, he'll be a good player, and looks like he's going to be with the Summer League in Vegas starting July 7th, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch. If you guys are a big G League team or G League watcher, or sorry, not G League, but Summer League watcher, he's going to be a fun one to watch. And so, I think that's going to do it here for the Charge. Thank you once again for joining us, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. I do apologize that it was kind of a impromptu one that came up, but obviously I had to get on, talk about the Damian Lillard news because that was huge. I think that the NBA free agency has just begun. I think it's going to get even crazier, especially when we find out what some of these other players are doing. Where does Russell Westbrook go? Where does James Harden go? I think those are going to be some other big names that a lot of teams and players are looking at. It's going to be a fun thing to watch, but let me know in the comment section down below what has been your favorite move, who's won the free agency so far, and we'll see what happens in the future from here on out. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining, give you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe because all that stuff helps out the channel tremendously. We appreciate you tuning in. But right now, we're going to sign out. We'll catch you guys on the next episode of The Charge. And looking forward to seeing everybody talk about more NBA news and rumors and basketball opinions. Anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie, and we'll catch everybody on the next episode of The Charge. Anyway, guys, catch you later. Peace.